Good morning and welcome to Fast Horses Today. We are going to go over the races for Sunday, April 5th, over at Santa Anita, the Great Race Place. So Santa Anita has a Pick 6 carryover of, I think it's about $98,000. But here's the special part of it, is that today is a mandatory payday. So they are ending their meet, their winter spring meet, and then the next time they run, it'll be a different meet. So they have to do the mandatory payoffs for all of their pools. They have a Pick 6 carryover from the Santa Anita Derby card. And, it should be a nice day of betting. Happy Easter to everybody. The Pick 6 does start in the fifth race, has an approximate post time about 2:08 Pacific. So that's 4:08 here in the Central Time Zone, past 5 o'clock in the Eastern. So maybe the folks out east, are done with their Easter brunch, Easter festivities. Might be time to play some horses. Same here in the Midwest, and the folks over there in Southern California will probably be in tune with it as well, as they usually are on carryover days. So let's get started with the racing on Easter Sunday at Santa Anita. So I am going to skip over the first several races because I'm going to play a Pick 6 ticket for this mandatory payday. Pick 6, as I mentioned, starts in the fifth race, 2:08 Pacific Time post, 4:08 here Central Time. We're going to start out with a 5.5 furlong dirt sprint. These are maiden special weight California bred fillies, and these are 3-year-olds. And I've got 2 horses here that I'm going to put in. I think these horses will get this Pick 6 started for us. I am going to go with the 1 horse, Krista McAuliffe. Krista McAuliffe for the Stephen Miotti barn. I think Miotti's got a few live horses today. I think he looks like he's in line for a nice day. So Krista McAuliffe, she's had 3 starts, all at Santa Anita, twice on the dirt, once on the grass in between there. Her 3 starts all have been pretty well. She's been in this company here. I really like her last start. She had Edwin Maldonado on her. Maldonado takes the call again. This will be the 3rd time he's had this horse. She ended up getting beaten by a really ready-made winner that day in Another Zero. Another Zero was a huge favorite coming off a troubled trip and really got it done. Krista McAuliffe, I thought it ran a really nice second. Her challenge is going to be getting off that rail, in this, this one hole here out of this 5.5 furlong race. If you want a jock to try and do that, Maldonado's certainly a capable guy. He's a really good gate guy. He should get her out, pretty nice. And Krista McAuliffe, should definitely be figuring at the end of this race, in the winner's circle. I'm also going to put the 3 horse was Cool Mariah. Cool Mariah comes in for the Ian Kruljack barn. Tyler Bass takes the call here. Now, this horse has had 1 start. She had a start over the 6.5 furlong flat grass course, and she had a pretty troubled trip. Didn't break out too nicely, and also struggled over that dirt crossing. And, you see it happen a lot of times where horses do start on those flat turf sprints, and, the start of the race really has a lot of an effect, and they may not like crossing over from grass to dirt back to grass. It certainly looks like Cool Mariah wanted none of that. So I'm going to give her a shot here in her second start. I think she's going to improve greatly. We've seen it happen several times with these horses. They get that turf sprint start, and I don't know if the trainers are just looking for a race. They put them over there, they get them over to dirt, and the horse improves big time. So I think that this horse, should certainly do that. Cool Mariah's 8-1 in the program. We're going to take a shot with the 3 horse Cool Mariah. So we've got the 1 and 3 in the 5th race to try to start out the Pick 6. All right, now let's go to the next race of the day. Next race is the 6th race. 6th race is a 6 furlong flat grass sprint. These are condition claimers. They're going, as I mentioned, 6 furlongs. These are $30,000 claimers, non-winners of 3. And these are 4-year-olds and up. And I'm going to put a single in this race. I think there's just a lot of horses that, I don't know, are just kind of running in place. They're running at this level, not getting it done. Horses are, if they win at the 2L level, it's going to be hard for them to repeat at the 3L level because they're not all that talented. I found a horse here I'm going to make a single on. I think if this horse, runs similar to what he's done in the past, he's run up against some nice horses who certainly would demolish this field. I think Smart Code is a nice play here. I'm going to make the single on the 7 Smart Code for the Mark Glatt barn. Now, the Mark Glatt barn is probably euphoric with the big Santa Anita Derby win with Be Happy. So congrats to the Mark Glatt barn. That was a really nice race. It looked like Mike Smith really rode the horse nicely. It looked like he was pretty emotional there, and so was Mark Glatt. He was very emotional after the win. So it was nice to see that that emotion and that, people really care and put so much hard work into this. So congrats, Mark Latt. And, I hope you can pay us off here with this single and smart code. Kazushi Kimura takes the call. Kimura's been on this horse in his last several starts. As I mentioned, I think that, the races he's run, I think are just a little bit better than these. This dip in class is going to make this horse much better. And I think this horse, is worth a single here in this pick six. 7-2, we're going to single smart code in the sixth race here. All right, now let's go to the seventh race of the day. Seventh race is another California bred, maiden special weight. Again, these are fillies, and these are 3-year-olds. They're going 5.5 furlongs. I think maybe there was a lot of maidens, California maidens in this category, so they split the race up. This is the other division. So I think there's 2 horses here. One of these 2 will get it done. I'm going to go with the 1 horse, La Silenciosa, and that's for Victor Garcia, Amicio Jaramillo, Ismael, my main man, Ismael Jaramillo on the horse here. Now, horse couple changes here. They're putting blinkers on the horse. They're also putting Lasix first time. The horse didn't run with Lasix last time. This horse comes out of that Krista McAuliffe race, which I mentioned I thought was a pretty good race. They got beat by another 0. La Silenciosa was third in that race. And, I thought she ran a nice race coming out of the 2-hole that day. She wasn't all that fast out of the gate, but I thought she ran nicely. I think, with that start, certainly Ismael Jaramillo has been riding great. Maybe have this girl a little closer, and, she'll be a factor here. Then I'm also going to put the 6 horse. I was originally going to single the 6 horse, but I'm going to put the 1 and 6. I do think the 6 horse is going to be very live here, that being Jacqueline Lucas. Jacqueline Lucas out of the Stephen Miotti barn. As I mentioned, I think Miotti's got some live ones today. Vicente Del Cid on the horse here. Now, Vicente Del Cid, that was the jock that came over from Delta Downs, after winning a ton of races at Delta. He's come over to California. He's ridden okay. I don't know that he's getting a whole lot of chances, but we'll see in a race like this. We'll see if he could show his stuff. I do like the 2 races Jacqueline Lucas ran. She ran last year, so, she ran back last summer, fall. I thought she ran up against some tough company. She ended up running up against Miss Kona, who was really nice that day, and Cash. And Cash has certainly been a really nice Calbred as well. So she ran with Cash a couple times. She ended up running back with Cash when Cash broke her maiden back at Santa Anita in the fall back in September. And, she's had a layoff here, so something apparently went amiss. But, I like Miotti off the layoff. These look like Miotti type of works, the slow and steady works, get the horse ready for the race. I like this post, maybe a stalk and pounce type of thing, and the horse will have to pounce. It's going to be 5.5 furlongs, so it can't be too far back. But, a jock like Vicente Del Cid, they run a lot of short races at Delta Downs, so I'm sure he's very capable in these sprints. So we're going to go with the 1 and 6 in the 7th race. So we're going to go with the 8th race now. The 8th race is going to be your feature race. This is a Providencia $100,000 stakes race. They're going 1 1/8 on the grass, and these are 3-year-old fillies. And I think at one time the Providencia was probably a graded race. It's not anymore. But anyway, we're going to handicap it as it is here. So I've got 2 horses I'm going to play here. I'm going to go with the 1, Daria. Daria from the Phil D'Amato barn. This horse comes off a maiden win, which I thought she ran a really nice maiden race. She's had 2 starts here at the Santa Anita meet here in the States after coming, off the boat from Ireland back in the fall. So, she had a break between her start in Ireland and then, when they brought her back into the States here in the end of February. She ran a very nice race, coming second to Essential Lady. Essential Lady was a big price winner that day. Essential Lady is a very well-bred horse. I think she's by Lady Shipman, if I'm not mistaken. But, she lit up the tote board that day. Daria ran really nicely there, and then she followed that up with her maiden win. So Daria certainly shows she could run. She shows she likes the distance, having won at 1 1/8. We'll see if she can follow up that maiden win, which was very nice, in a stakes win. And then I am going to put the 8 horse. The 8 horse is the ship-in from Tampa Bay. That comes out of the Miguel Clement barn, and Hector Barrios takes the call. That's Abigail. Abigail's 7-2 in the program. Watching Abigail's film, I really like all 3 of her races that she ran at Tampa Bay. I didn't watch the initial race she ran at Aqueduct back last fall, but I'll have to check that out again. But I really liked her 3 races that she ran at Tampa Bay. She showed a lot of energy, breaking her maiden, did that very nicely, followed that up with a nice allowance win. They thought enough to put her in the Florida Oaks, which is a grade 3 race. And, I thought she ran a nice race there. She ended up coming 5th out of 11 horses, but I thought she ran a nice race. She probably ran with some really nice horses who would be really, outstanding in this race. So I think that Abigail's performance there in the Florida Oaks certainly gets her ready here. And as we've seen, when horses do ship from the east into the west in these turf races, they do well. I mean, look what happened yesterday with the big upset of the Jeff Mullins horse, Queen Maxima. Horse from the east came over and upset the apple cart. So I don't see that Abigail's an upset. She's 7-2 in the program, but I think she's very live here in the Providencia. All right, now let's go over to the 9th race of the day. 9th race is a 6-furlong dirt sprint. There's a starter allowance race, and then there's an option to claim. So, these are horses who have run for 10,000 or less. If you don't fit that qualification, you could get in if you want to put your horse in for the $12,500 claim. So this is your traditional starter allowance race where you've got horses that are multiple winners, running in for claiming races, and they fit in here. I've got 2 horses. I think it's a tough race here, but I'm going to put 2 horses in here. Hopefully this ticket's live. We can get this ticket rolling along. I'm going to go with the 4-horse 406 Creed for Jeff Mullins. Now, I remember liking this horse last time. He ran in this similar type of level, maybe a little higher level he ran last time. And, I thought the horse just ran an even race. He got beat by Jaguar John and Tiger in my tank, who both ran really big time that day. I think maybe 406 Creed was maybe a little compromised by that rail draw in a big field of 9. So, he's off the rail here. I think, these 2 starts he's had off a little bit of a layoff should put this horse in ready here. There's a switch to Juan Hernandez. Diego Herrera has been riding this horse. Now, I know Diego had gone over to Gulfstream to ride, so Juan Hernandez takes the call here. This horse has a good record at Santa Anita, 2 wins out of 4 starts. I think we'll see a better effort out of 406 Creed, off that disappointment we had last time. He's 6-1 in the program. I think he's going to be live here. And I'm also going to put the 7-horse, who is Chasing Money. Chasing Money comes out of the Librado Baraccio barn. Baraccio legs up Kyle Frey on this horse. And Baraccio claimed this horse back last year. And, he puts blinkers on. Frey's back on again. And, Baraccio's a really, really capable trainer. He wins races and certainly wins races in these type of levels. And looks like, when Baraccio gets a chance to work with a horse, he really does some nice work and improves the horse. So he puts blinkers on, so I'm going to trust he saw something he needed, to make that change, put the blinkers on. He comes out of a much better race, much better starter allowance race. He got beat by Mbanyik. Mbanyik certainly is a capable horse, allowance type of horse. Code Duello, same thing, an allowance type of horse. He ran with those guys. I think there's a much softer spot here. I think the second start off the layoff, maybe the horse needed the race that day. So Chasing Money, I think, is going to be very live at 6-1. So we're going to take a shot with a couple prices here in this second to last race here, in this pick 6 carryover day. So we've got the 4 and the 7 in the 9th race. All right, let's go to the 10th race of the day. 10th race is the final race. It's the Mile on the Grass. They're running a $25,000 condition claimer. These are non-winners of 2 in their lifetime. And this will be a big race. This is the end of their winter-spring meeting. This will be the pick 6 payoff here. A lot of different tickets will be on the line here in this 10th race. I find this race kind of difficult. I mean, this is $25,000 horses, but I don't know, who's really worth that. I'm going to put 3 horses in here to try to pay us off here. I'm going to put the 4-horse, who is Tribal, for Doug O'Neill. Doug O'Neill claimed this horse from John Sadler for $25,000. He tried raising him up after he claimed him back in January. Ended up running in a starter allowance race. Just kind of ran an okay race, nothing terrible. He's putting his horse back in for $25,000. The same level he claimed him out of. Tyler Bay's on the horse. The horse shows some speed. Maybe he'll get out, get some forward position, maybe try to wire the field. Doug O'Neill certainly had an outstanding meet, so maybe he caps it off with a win in the end of the meet race there. So we'll put the 4-horse Tribal at 5-1. Also going to put the 9-horse. 9-horse being Bad to the Bones. Bad to the Bones for Ryan Hansen. Ryan Hansen legs up his main man, Adrian Escobedo. They always make a nice team. Now, when you look at Ryan Hansen's record for the meet, the record looks kind of light, 7% winners. But, his horses have been running nicely. He's gotten beat several times. Has a bunch of second-place finishes and third-place finishes. And as I mentioned, I really like when Hansen and Escobedo team up. They think they make a really nice pair. Now, Escobedo's been on this horse the last 2 times this horse has run on the turf, coming off a bit of a layoff, had run some even races here, and I feel like a lot of these horses are the same, so it's a matter of maybe getting a trip, getting a nice finish. I think Bad to the Bones at 10-1 is going to be a live long shot here, to possibly pay off the pick 6. And then finally going to go with the 10 horse, who was Fire Mountain for Peter Urton. Peter Urton legs up Juan Hernandez. These guys certainly have done a lot of nice work in the past. Fire Mountain is a lightly raced horse. Having won his maiden opener in a maiden $50,000 claiming level in a Cowbird race in a sprint. That was back in the fall at Del Mar. Nice race there. The horse won a sprint. A little bit of a layoff. They brought this horse back in early March. The horse ran with a little bit better in starter allowance company. So, some things to give this horse a pass on. It was his first time on the turf, first time going 2 turns, running with a little bit better. He didn't run terribly. I think, this softer company here, and I think, Hernandez should be, pretty live on this horse. First time Hernandez is a good angle. Urton, could be live here with this race too. So Fire Mountain, I think, drops into a spot to make this horse much faster here at 5-1. So to cap off the pick 6, we've got the 4, 9, and 10. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the bets. Okay, so for Sunday, April 5th, the pick 6 carryover and mandatory payoff at Santa Anita, we are going to go with the pick 6 ticket, which does start in the 5th race. In the 5th race, we're going to start out with the 1-3, with the 7, with the 1-6, with the 1-8, with the 4-7, with the 4-9-10. Now that pick 6 ticket today is a $96 ticket. I think it's worth a shot to play this ticket with a mandatory payoff. If there are any scratches or changes, you can make those changes on your own, or add or subtract if you'd like, whatever, works for you in your bankroll. If you want to play the ticket as is, I wish you the best of luck. Let's wish the folks a very safe day of racing over at Santa Anita to close out their meet. Let's wish ourselves some good luck and some good trips, as we know makes all the difference in the world in winning and losing. So as always, I do thank you so much for watching Fast Horses today and listening to the picks. Thanks to everybody who's hit the subscribe button. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do so. It's free, delivers the content to you. You can always like, dislike, make comments, make good comments, make bad comments, make the comments you feel. We will create a discussion. I welcome that. So again, thank you so much for watching. Let's close this meet out in a winning fashion at Santa Anita, the great race place. And we will be back for more coverage from Santa Anita when they reopen for their new meet. Have a wonderful day and a happy Easter to all.